Here's an interesting fact. Your environment is not the backdrop to your work. It's actually an active participant in it. The space you work in is either helping you think clearly or quietly working against you. Thank you for listening to Routine is Revenue, your place to build routines and bank results. I'm Ildiko Seeley, your routine and performance strategist, because I have learned that performance is not just internal. The physical space you inhabit every day either supports your best thinking or silently drains it. This episode is for you if your workspace has evolved by accident rather than design. If you are ready to treat your physical environment as a performance tool rather than just a practical necessity, well, let us get into this one. In this routine reset, we look at your physical environment as a health and performance pillar. I will cover how light, air quality, temperature, clutter, ergonomics, and spatial organization directly influence how you run your business. It's because it influences your focus, your energy, your mood, and most of all, your productivity. We pair this with some brilliant practical insights from our recent conversation with Penny Moises last week, whose Home, Life and You event explored exactly this territory. Business owners spend a lot of time thinking about what they do in their workspace, or very few think deliberately about what their workspace does to them. So which group do you belong to? Research, and frankly, if you think about it, common sense, tell us that the environment we inhabit shapes our output in measurable ways. So let's go through them. Poor light forces your eyes and nervous system to work harder. Clutter divides your visual attention and increases cognitive load. A screen at the wrong height creates muscular tension that compounds across the working week. And a room that is too warm reduces concentration. And on the flip side, one that is too cold makes sustained focus much, much harder. Now, none of these sound dramatic on their own, but they are present every single day, and they can easily stack up. And when your environment is actively supporting you, you will notice that your output will shift. Would you agree that if you sat down to work in a supportive environment, you would settle much faster? So how about your thinking? What would that feel? Would it be cleaner? And I'm also absolutely certain that you would sustain concentration far longer before fatigue sets in. And at the end of the day, you'd feel tired from doing good work, not from fighting your own surroundings. So in that recent conversation with Penny, we explored how home and workspace design intersects with how we actually feel day to day. Now, Penny's work through the Home, Life and You show looks at this historically. The practicality of how a space is organized, how it is lit, how it breathes, and how those elements contribute to the person who occupies it. Your body does not stop being part of your business when you sit down at your desk. Your environment either supports that body or works against it. And over the working week, that distinction compounds significantly. Now, improving your physical environment doesn't require full renovation. It requires a deliberate audit. So let's start with light. Natural light is the single highest return change most people can make. If you can position your workspace to face or be near a window, the ability to look out and let your eyes refocus at a distance periodically is not a luxury. It's actually helping your cognitive reset. Next, we want to clutter. A cleared surface is not just aesthetically better, but it reduces the number of things competing for your visual attention. And even if you know where everything is in a messy space, your brain is still processing it. So clear the immediate working area first, and then the rest will follow. Ergonomics. It is one that people most consistently underinvest in. If your screen height, your chair height, or your keyboard position is creating tension in your neck, your shoulders, and your back, that tension is present for every single hour of your work. So small adjustments here can considerably outsize the impact. Finally, the temperature and air quality. Now, these are probably the least glamorous and often the most overlooked things. But a well-ventilated room at a comfortable temperature requires much less effort to stay in. That ease is not trivial across a 40-hour working week. Now, I share an office with my husband, and we are currently redesigning it. We expanded the workspace, cleared up some wall space, and created a seating area for meetings. Even in mid-process, the difference is already noticeable. And I will use our own office as the example here because it's genuinely in progress, and I think that honesty is much more useful than a finished, polished story. So for a long time, our home office was functional in the way that most home offices are. Well, originally it was built as a design studio and had obviously relevant, but now unrequired equipment and furniture in it. So it became a storage area that created visual clutter every time we looked up or walked in. It worked, but it had accumulated rather than it was designed. So we've been gradually changing it in recent months. A new desk for us both, built-in cupboards, these cleared the visual noise from the walls. We now have space to move and a space to relax in. But critically, a carefully positioned workstation under a window rather than facing a wall for me, well, that single positioning, looking out rather than at the surface, makes a huge difference you might not even fully anticipate. There is definitely something about having a visual horizon, even a modest one through a window, because it allows your vision and thinking to expand. You will glance up, your eyes can relax, and then you can come back to your screen fresher. You see, none of these changes are dramatic, but small environmental changes made deliberately compound in exactly the same way that other health routines do. All you need to do is acknowledge that your workspace is a tool and treat it like one. So what if your work environment is not quite right and it stays as it is? I mean, you keep working in a space that has accumulated rather than been designed. You will adapt, you will cope, but you are spending energy every single day navigating friction that doesn't need to be there. So let's say if the clutter stays in your peripheral vision and the light stays inadequate, the cumulative cost shows up as fatigue that I imagine would feel much bigger than the work should produce. But there is also a much more subtler cost. A workspace that has not been invested in sends a message to your own subconscious about the value of the work that happens there. So when your environment reflects intention and care, it's much easier to bring intention and care to the work itself. So the conclusion is that you cannot separate your physical environment from your performance. They are exactly the same conversation. So when you treat your workspace as the performance tool that it is, before the clutter starts affecting your focus, maybe before the tension in your neck becomes a clear headache, some changes now have immediate and compounding returns. You do not need a renovation. What you need is a decision. And if this has made you look around your workspace differently, your next step is very simple. I'm heading the routine revolution by offering a routine audit. In these hour-long one-to-one conversations, we look at all the pillars of the Temple method, including your physical environment within physical health and your workspace routines. These audits are part of my 52 to 52 campaign I'm offering throughout 2026. Please visit theroutinerevolution.co.uk to register your interest. In the meantime, design your space like it matters, because it does. And remember, a healthier you makes a wealthier you.